Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. Her ring tapped the table once, then she slid it toward me. I'm done being your only, calm voice, steady breath. I want an open marriage, eyes on mine, unblinking. I touched the ring, felt heat that wasn't there. I'm Ryan, 34, and my mouth went dry fast. Since when? I asked, counting heartbeats like coins. Since the fighting stopped, she answered, hands folded tight. The words landed and stayed like debt. I pushed the ring back, 2 fingers, no tremor. You love me, I said, a statement begging. She stared past me, jaw working, pulse visible. I don't, she answered, clean cut. A notebook waited between us, lines already ruled. Rules keep us safe, she began, pen poised. No bringing people home, full honesty, weekly check-in. I nodded once, survival first, pride later. I'm not ready, I tried, throat burning. You will be, she said, voice light and practiced. This is our best chance to stay married. Best chance sounded like a locked door. She pushed the notebook forward, pen tapping. Add your boundaries, she said, eyes narrowing. I wrote slowly, test for protection, test for sanity. My hand shook, but I kept writing. First date Thursday, she continued like a memo. You should start too, it helps decouple feelings. I looked up, stunned by the clean wording. She held my gaze, no blush, no flinch. Is there someone already? I asked, jaw tight. A beat passed, short and telling, louder than speech. No one serious, she replied, fingers twisting the pen. A hairline crack ran through my patience. I stood, chair scraping sharp, heart sprinting. Are we breaking this or bending it? I asked. Bending, she said, too fast, too smooth. I felt the lie graze my cheek. She reached for my hand, stopped halfway, froze. I don't want to fight, measured tone, trained calm. I glanced at the ring between us, neutral metal. I won't beg, I answered, breath clipped. Her phone lit up once, then went still. A name flashed, not familiar, too casual. She flipped it face down without blinking. The room shrank, new truth entering quietly. I'll make a profile tonight, I said, surprising myself. My chest loosened a notch, then seized again. Good, she answered, almost relieved, almost grateful. Relief cut deeper than jealousy ever could. Honesty means details, she added, pen dancing. Who, when, where, no guessing games, crisp and neat. I pictured telling her everything while bleeding. I nodded once, deal with the wound later. She took the ring back, slid it on. Symbolic pause, she explained, brisk and tidy. Not a reconciliation, just theater for our nerves. I memorized the move for later use. I opened the door, cool air hit hard. My phone buzzed again, same unknown name. Her eyes flicked down and then away. The lie stopped pretending it was shy. I'll sleep in the guest room, I said, voice flat. Temporary, she replied, too cheerful for midnight. We can recalibrate after first dates. Recalibrate sounded like surgery without anesthesia. I grabbed a hoodie, nothing else, just motion. She blocked the hallway once, then stepped aside. Thank you for being mature, she murmured. I kept walking, maturity felt like a muzzle. In the dark, I built a profile fast. No jokes, no fluff, no bait for pity. I typed one line, simple and dangerous. Looking for truth before I drown, send proof. The first match appeared, no photo yet, just text. Coffee or denial, the message read, sharp rhythm. I stared at the screen, pulse easing briefly. Somewhere a future moved 1 inch closer. Her door clicked closed, soft but final, practice closure. I lay awake and counted the coming costs. I would pay all of them or leave. Either way, the bill was already here. I hit reply before nerves regrouped, coffee. 3 more words followed, Thursday after work. A dot blinked, then a location dropped. My thumbs hovered as my pulse climbed. I walked to the living room and spoke. Date set for Thursday. A slow inhale from the couch. Send me the time and place. I sent the screenshot and waited for the echo. Her approval arrived with a thumbs up. Transparency, she added, phone still in hand. Another bubble appeared, then vanished. I watched her screen go dark. I booked the ride early to block excuses. Then I opened the shared calendar and typed. One clean entry stared back at me. The silence after that felt loaded. Thursday hit like a shove at noon. Work tasks blurred and then hardened. I kept deleting drafts of an exit text. None felt brave enough to survive impact. At 5, I grabbed my wallet and left. A ping landed as I reached the street. Running 5 minutes late, the message read. I typed all good and kept moving. I arrived first and chose a corner table. I kept my hands still and counted. She stepped in and scanned the room once. We nodded like people who expected landmines. Coffee or denial, she asked with a grin. Let's try honesty, I answered as M. Y chest eased. We ordered quick and faced each other. She waited for me to stop galloping inside. How open is open, she asked, elbows close. Real details both ways, I said and held. No surprises and no ghosts. She studied me and tapped once on the table. Do you want out or repair, she asked. Clarity first, I answered and leaned forward. If repair means pretending, I'm out. She nodded, one small tilt that steadied me. What would you hide if I asked, she pushed. My fear of being second, I said. My anger at being managed. The truth burned and then cooled. She met that heat without flinching. I don't audition for triangles, she said. If we continue, I will be seen. Her words rearranged my posture on the spot. I texted the update into the shared notes. Coffee done, talking went deep. I watched the message status change. Reads, then nothing again. Maya glanced at my phone and waited. I promised full disclosure, I told her. She tracks details like weather reports. Are you safe in that, she asked. I swallowed and looked at the door. I'm safe enough to speak freely now. Safe enough to choose later. I felt how thin that sounded. She slid a napkin across and tapped it. Write one line you stand by. I wrote slowly until the sentence clicked. I will not freeze while being evaluated. She read it and leaned back. Good spine, she murmured and smiled. Want a second meeting next week? I heard myself say yes. We stepped outside and paused near the curb. Quick hug goodbye, she asked with open arms. I leaned in and felt my shoulders drop. No drama, just contact and clear air. My phone buzzed as we separated. A message from home waited like a checkpoint. How was it? The screen asked. I typed productive and pocketed the device. Another buzz followed, faster than breathing. Curfew update, midnight tonight. A new rule sprouted from nowhere. I stared at the words until they blurred. Maya watched my face tighten. Problem already, she asked with a tilt. Moving goalposts, I answered and exhaled. She nodded like she recognized the game. Come walk, she offered and started moving. We matched pace and kept our heads forward. Tell me what line you won't cross, she pressed. Unequal rules, I said, each syllable anchored. Then test it tonight, her voice firm. Ask for symmetry, not permission. I felt that settle under my ribs. Okay, I said and meant it. We stopped at the corner and faced each other. I'll text tomorrow, she said and squeezed my hand. Not late, just clear. That word kept ringing after she left. I called home before the ride arrived. Midnight applies both directions, I began. A pause breathed on the other end. We can discuss Sunday, came finally. Sunday is not tonight, I answered slowly. Another silence stretched long and careful. Fine, equal for now, she added. Now carried more weight than fine. The ride pulled up and I climbed in. A timestamp landed in the shared notes. I watched the entry appear on her screen. Seen again, still no response. Back home, I paused at the doorway. Equal curfew, agreed, I said and waited. She nodded without lifting her eyes. Keep logging everything, came flat and quick. I walked to the spare room and sat. I wrote a new line under the napkin sentence. Symmetry or distance, choose within 48 hours. My hands steadied as the choice took shape. I turned off notifications and lay down. My body trembled once and then quieted. The calendar pinged tomorrow's tasks like a metronome. I felt the pivot point under my feet. I woke to a vibration I didn't set. Her phone lit beside a folded sweatshirt. A message preview flashed once and vanished. I memorized the first letter and waited. She knocked on the frame and walked in. Check in tonight, she announced, voice bright and organized. Bring updates and requests. I nodded and hid the jolt. At lunch, I wrote a single question. Is this arrangement new for you? I stared until the words steadied. Then I sent it and muted everything. Her reply arrived 2 hours later. Let's discuss live. 3 dots hovered, then disappeared again. I felt the answer trying to hide. Maya texted a simple offer. Walk after work, no agenda. I said yes and put the phone away. I wanted a spine by nightfall. We met at the corner and moved quietly. How will you measure fairness, she asked, eyes forward. I need mirrored standards and clear notice. Then ask plainly and record the answer. I stood outside the apartment and exhaled. In the entry, she waited with a legal pad. Start with logistics, she said while uncapping a pen. Then we'll address feelings if time remains. Same limits for both, I began, palms steady. No last-minute edits, no vague exceptions. Her pen paused and resumed slowly. That's workable if you accept one more condition. Which one, I asked, leaning on the doorway. Pausing our epi dates until emotional stability, she read. What counts as stable, I asked again. The absence of jealousy markers, she answered smoothly. Give an example, I pushed, breath sharp. You canceling plans to provoke attention, she replied. I didn't, I said and held her stare. She nodded once and wrote a checkmark. Next, she prompted and tilted the pad. I want clarity on your notifications, I said. That name looked familiar this morning. Her shoulders stiffened while the tip scratched. Someone I met recently, she offered after a beat. Not exclusive, early conversations. How recent, I asked, keeping my tone level. She kept writing and skipped the time frame. You asked me to log details immediately, I pressed. I did that last night. Please do the same, I added quietly. Her jaw flexed and relaxed twice. She flipped to a fresh page quickly. Fine dinner tomorrow with a colleague, she announced. Not secret, not serious. Tomorrow crawled under my skin and settled. Then I'll see Maya on Saturday, I countered. Early evening, same duration. Her pen knocked the paper and stopped. We'll revisit after your date, she answered coolly. Revisit means renegotiate, I said and straightened. Not revoke. Silence stretched, then snapped with a nod. Not revoke, she repeated without blinking. She closed the pad and leaned back. Anything else before bed, calm and distant. One last item, I said, voice calm. I need confirmation this didn't start months ago. A small crack showed at the corner of her mouth. Define start, she murmured while rubbing her wrist. Messages, meetings, anything romantic. My chest waited for the blow. Texting began earlier than our agreement, she admitted. Physical contact after we talked. How much earlier, I asked, nails biting palm. 5 weeks, she answered, eyes steady. I breathed once and counted backward. That placed it before the ring slide. Before the notebook and the new rules. Before my first yes under pressure. Thank you for the truth, I managed, throat tight. This changes how I engage. She watched me without flinching. I still want structure, she replied gently. Structure is fine, I said, spine warmer. Double standards are gone. I drew a line on her pad. On one side I wrote continue, on the other separate. She studied the line as if it hummed. I choose continue with compliance, she answered slowly. We both follow no shortcuts. I circled continue and closed the pad. I texted Maya one sentence outside the room. Saturday confirmed and transparent. Her response came quick and light. Good, hold your line. I returned to the spare bed and lay still. 5 weeks kept repeating like a timestamp. It did not erase me. It sharpened me for the next move. I arrived early on purpose, no stall, no rescue plan. Maya waved me over and stayed standing. Walk first, she suggested with a quick nod. We stepped outside and matched stride without effort. Any reversals since last night, she asked, hands loose. New promise of fairness and a hard date, I answered. She listened and kicked a pebble into the gutter. Then test the promise tonight. We grabbed 2 seats at a small table. Set your own checkpoints, she said while opening her notebook. Not for control, for sanity. I wrote 3 words and underlined them twice. She slid her phone across and looked at me. I do not hide, her gaze steady and calm. Want to see my calendar? I nodded and scanned the week in silence. Nothing secret stared back at me. Meetings, yoga, dinner with a friend. A single common detail worried me quietly. Her friend's name matched the letter on that preview. You know him? I asked, voice level. Work acquaintance and ex-texting buddy, she answered without flinch. It ended last spring. I filed that beside the morning shard. We ordered quickly and kept our chairs close. Where do you place the line? She asked. At action, not intention, I answered and breathed. Temptation matters only if you feed it. She smiled and reached across the table. Short version, she said with one tap. Do you want a second date tonight? I felt resolve arrive before caution could argue. Yes, I said and held her stare. But only if you want to stand in daylight. I live there already, she replied and squeezed my fingers. The table stopped feeling like a test. We paid and stepped into the evening rush. Text your update openly, she prompted and stopped walking. I typed a clear sentence and hit send. Date finished, planning to see each other again. Read, then a new message arrived instantly. Back by 11, new boundary. I laughed once, short and unamused. Maya watched my face for more clues. Counter or comply, she asked, chin lifted. Counter, I answered and started recording audio. Same timeline, both directions starting now. I sent it and waited for pushback. 3 dots pulsed and then froze. Another response landed like a thrown dart. Fine, buffer 15 minutes for travel. The concession felt thin but real. Maya touched my elbow and leaned closer. Your spine shows, she whispered and smiled. Wanna risk a kiss? We moved in and kept it simple. Warmth spread and then steadied. No fireworks, no staged urgency. Just contact that asked for more courage. I let go first to prove control. 1 more hour, she suggested with a playful tilt. Walk the park and practice telling the truth. We moved again without checking maps. My pulse stopped tripping over itself. What do you fear most tonight? She asked softly. Retaliation through new rules, I answered immediately. Or a sudden pause dressed as compromise. She nodded like someone who knew that beast. What do you want from me? She continued. Consistency and no competitive dating, I said plainly. If we build this, let it be steady. She held my eyes and did not blink. Then no triangles, she agreed and stuck out her hand. I shook it and felt the odd relief. A handshake can anchor more than any kiss. We both laughed because it surprised us. Time pushed us toward the exit point. I'll walk you to your ride, she offered. We reached the curb and stopped close. Text when you land inside, she added. I sent a final note to the shared log. On my way, arrival by 10:45. The timestamp marked the message like a seal. No response, just the silent check mark. The ride dropped me at the building. My key turned and the door moved quietly. She waited on the couch with crossed ankles. Report, she said, chin high. Coffee and a walk, I answered and leaned. Agreed on integrity and pacing. Her fingers tapped her knee in a rhythm. Details, she prompted without blinking. We plan another evening next week, I continued carefully. Same length, same curfew. She rose and paced once across the room. After your second meeting, we reassess exclusivity. Define reassess, I asked and folded my arms. Pausing repeats until the household feels calm. Calm by whose measure? I asked again. Ours, she answered, gaze cooling. I will not accept moving targets, I said evenly. Set shared metrics now. She stopped pacing and faced me squarely. What metrics do you trust? Equal time, notice 48 hours, no new clauses. She held still and worked the inside of her cheek. That is strict, she finally answered. Strict stops chaos, I replied, heart steadying. The room went silent and then hummed. She pulled out her planner and wrote dates. Dinner tomorrow still stands, she announced while circling a slot. Message updates in real time. Do you want this to succeed? I asked. She looked up like the question pinched. I want order more than disaster. I heard the truth and filed it carefully. Then we assign consequences, I proposed with crisp voice. Break a metric and we pause everything. Her expression tightened and then relaxed. Mutual pause, not punishment. Mutual pause, I agreed and extended my hand. She hesitated and then took it quickly. Her grip trembled once and then settled. We let go at the same time. I returned to the spare room and sat. The day replayed in sharp clips. 2 agreements held under stress and scrutiny. 1 letter still tugged on my nerves. Before sleep, I wrote a final line. No hidden threads left by Sunday night. Clarity or distance by morning Monday. I set an alarm and braced for the reckoning. Her leaving now ping arrived, then nothing for an hour. Our log stayed blank while the clock crept. I typed a check-in and watched the status hang. Silence stretched until my jaw locked. A picture popped up without caption, 2 glasses, 2 plates. No faces, just proof of company. Colleague dinner going long followed with a dot. The dot felt like a dare. I replied with our yardsticks in 1 line. Return time, update on departures, no last-minute shifts. A pause, then acknowledged. Acknowledged sounded like a loophole warming up. I called Maya and asked for a short walk. No agenda, I added, breath shallow. 10 minutes, she answered and met me halfway. We moved briskly, neither of us performing. Your house playing games again, she asked with a glance. Data trickle, rule fog, timing wiggle, I listed. Pick 1 outcome for tonight, she said. Consequences if agreements wobble. Mutual stop if yardsticks break, I said slowly. No debates tomorrow morning. Good, she nodded and touched my forearm. Finish the night with a spine. I texted home before we split paths. Return by 11 stands, mutual stop if missed. The message showed delivered and then slept. I kept walking until my pulse calmed. 10:45 came with no movement. 10:55 crawled past without updates. At 11 the minute rolled over blank. I started the timer we built for breaches. 11:05 a message F. An ally appeared. Ride delays 15 over. I stared until the numbers sharpened. Mutual stop engaged, I wrote and hit send. The door opened at 11:20. She set her keys down carefully and waited. Traffic, she began, hands still. Timer already ran, I answered without raising volume. That's rigid, she countered, shoulders squaring. Rigid is what we agreed, I replied. Pause applies to both of us. Her mouth tightened then loosened in practice calm. Tomorrow I have plans, she stated, gaze hard. Then those plans fall under the pause, I said. A beat of sheer quiet sat between us. She looked away first. Was dinner just dinner, I asked, voice even. Work talk and a walk after, she offered. Walk was not logged, I said. She inhaled once and didn't answer. Transparency means the whole map, I continued. Not fragments that hide detours. A shrug flickered, then died in the doorway. I felt the final hinge starting to squeal. I sent a final note into the log. Pause begins now, ends Sunday at noon. Either we reset to equal footing or disengage. No reply returned, just the cold stillness. Maya messaged 1 clean sentence before bed. I will respect whatever you enforce. I stared at those words until sleep threatened. Respect felt like oxygen during a blackout. Morning arrived with a calendar ping I didn't set. Her dinner contact appeared as a recurring block. The name matched the letter from that preview. My stomach sank, then steadied into a decision. I walked to the hallway and spoke plainly. Recurring meetings with him require disclosure beyond basics. Or the pause becomes permanent. She folded her arms and waited for me to blink. I didn't hide, she answered with a lean. You delayed, I countered, keeping my stance. Delay corrodes trust faster than lying. The word trust hovered between us like a switchblade. Last proposal, I said, palms open. Shared definitions, no gray zones, real penalties. If you reject this, I start packing. The word packing finally pulled her eyes wide. Draft the definitions, she murmured, chin lifting. I'll review at 9 tonight. I nodded once and went to the spare room. Every sentence I wrote felt like a test. I built a single page with bullets only. No fluff, no wiggle terms, no backdoors. Missed returns equal pause, unreported meetings equal pause. 2 pauses in a week equal separation. I slid the page onto the table at 9. She read every line twice without speaking. Her finger stopped on the last condition. 2 pauses equals separation, you're serious. I'm done bleeding politely, I answered, voice steady. We end the drift or we end this. She looked at the door as if measuring distance. Then she signed the bottom without a flourish. Sunday at noon we evaluate, I said. She nodded once and closed the pen. We stood there, not touching and not running. I felt the ground choose a side. Sunday landed like a gavel at noon. I placed the signed page on the table. We measure today, I said, and sat straight. Her eyes flicked to the corner and back. Update first, she answered with a tight nod. Dinner repeated, conversation stayed professional. Any unlogged detours, I asked without blinking. A single pause opened between us like a crack. Walk after, she admitted and rubbed her wrist. Short, I needed closure. Closure requires notice, I replied and tapped the document. Her jaw clenched, then eased under control. I want to reset, she pushed with controlled breath. Less rigid, more trust built slowly. We agreed consequences for missed disclosures, I reminded. 2 beats passed while she measured my resolve. Are you choosing enforcement over partnership, she asked quietly. I am choosing integrity over drift, I answered. The word drift made her flinch once. We both heard something end in that flinch. I can change the cadence, she tried, voice low. No more edge cases, no soft edges. Changes start with proof, I said and stood. Her hands tightened into careful fists. This is punishment, she snapped and stepped forward. This is a boundary, I countered and didn't retreat. 2 strikes this week, I added evenly. Her stare hardened like a door slamming shut. She turned away and grabbed her phone. I'll cancel everything for 30 days, she offered. Cancellation isn't repair, I said, chest steady. Honesty on schedule or we separate now. Silence drummed until my shoulders ached. Then she looked up with a cooler mask. You are serious about moving out, she asked. I nodded once and felt something align. Give me until evening, she bargained and paced. Final disclosures in writing, no omissions. 4 hours, I said and set a timer. Her lips thinned as she started typing. I walked to the spare room and opened the duffel. 2 shirts, shoes, charger, papers. No souvenirs, no traces that begged negotiation. I zipped it and let the sound hang. Maya texted while I stood in the doorway. Status check. Decision day, I wrote back, palms steady. I'll stand by what we built. Where do you want me, she asked. Stay available, I typed and watched the dots. I'm present when you land, she wrote. My pulse slowed without losing focus. The timer hit 3 hours and change. I stepped out and saw her still typing. Half an hour, I said and held the frame. She nodded without looking up. 30 minutes later, she slid me the list. Messages, calls, meetings. A clean timeline with timestamps and names. One entry sat exactly 5 weeks before everything. You asked for the whole truth, she said quietly. I'm giving it now. Now arrived late, I answered and pointed. She knew it before I said more. I don't want to lose my home, she whispered. You lost my trust first, I replied calmly. Home follows trust, not the other way. Her shoulders dropped like a white flag. What happens next, she asked with flat calm. Separation with respect, I said and lifted the bag. Lawyers tomorrow, logistics tonight, no cruelty. She looked smaller without arguing. We walked through practical steps like colleagues. Keys, bills, access. She asked for 2 weeks to adjust. I agreed and wrote the dates down. At the door, she reached for my sleeve. Do you still want us eventually, she asked. I want peace more than history, I answered. Her hand fell and didn't return. Outside, air hit like a wake-up slap. I messaged Maya 2 words. Heading over. I'm here, came back before I blinked. She met me on the sidewalk and held steady. No questions first, no rescue tone. Do we debrief or sit quiet, she asked. Quiet first, I said and exhaled everything. We sat on a bench and watched people move. My hand stopped shaking after a minute. I enforced the line, I said finally. Maya nodded and squeezed once. Any part of you regret the choice, she asked. I regret the waste, I answered and stared ahead. I don't regret the boundary. That sentence landed like a foundation stone. Then build from there, she said and stood. Small steps, no drama contracts. I smiled without forcing it. Dinner next week, same terms, real pace. She grinned and bumped my shoulder. Deal and no triangles. None, I said and meant it. A door closed behind my ribs and stayed closed. I booked a short-term place near work that afternoon. Signed, paid, received the code. I carried the duffel inside and set it down. A quiet room can feel like courage. I texted a final update to the shared log. Moved out, contact for logistics only. No reply arrived as evening turned over. For once, the silence felt like alignment. I lay on the mattress and breathed evenly. Loss hummed, not roaring anymore. I counted the promises I kept to myself. For the first time, the number felt enough.